All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at the modern producer's guide to merging cutting-edge 2026 AI with timeless classic techniques. We're living in a pretty wild era, right? The tools at our fingertips are literally mind-blowing. But honestly, the fundamental physics of a great mix, they haven't changed a bit. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just grinding away in your bedroom studio, navigating this landscape can feel, well, totally overwhelming. But today, we're going to break the whole shebang down so you can produce smarter, not harder.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The trends defining modern mixes, 2. The actual truth about AI, 3. The AI production toolkit, and 4. Some timeless tricks straight from Abbey Road.
Okay, Section 1. Trends defining modern mixes. Let's talk about what's actually hitting the charts right now.
So you open up your DAW, stare at that blank project, and you got to ask yourself, what does a hit song actually sound like in 2026? It's not just about making things sound, good. It's about speaking the sonic language that listeners are vibing with right now. And it's pretty interesting because right now that language is heavily driven by nostalgia.
We're seeing this massive resurgence of 2000s indie nostalgia. People are constantly requesting these thinner, distorted vocals. Think of bands like The Strokes or modern acts like MKG. The sound is just dripping in lo-fi distortion and digital artifacts. But here's the catch. Alongside all that grit, there is this intense, surgical focus on making the vocals absolutely dominate the mid-range. We're talking specifically about that crucial 800 Hz to 4 kHz pocket. Instruments are being aggressively scooped out of that high mid-range so the vocal can just soar, completely unencumbered. And then, well, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, loudness. If you thought streaming normalization ended the loudness wars, think again. That is completely over. Take a look at LUFS, loudness units relative to full scale. It's our standard metric for measuring streaming loudness. The data is wild. Pop mixes are regularly hitting a massive -4 LUFS, with true peaks sitting at 3 decibels. And what's really fascinating here is that engineers are totally embracing this clipping. It's a valid aesthetic choice now. The distortion and artifacts from this extreme loudness, they aren't mistakes anymore. They're built right into the arrangement for pure energy.
Moving on to Section 2, the truth about AI. Let's look at the tech we use to get these sounds, tackling the heavily debated topic of artificial intelligence in the studio.
If you spend any time on producer forums, people are terrified. There's this huge fear that AI is going to perfectly mix and generate whole songs automatically, basically supplanting mixing engineers entirely. But let's look at the reality here. Tools like iZotope, they are simply assistants. They give you a killer starting point, maybe getting you 70 to 80% of the way there. But that final 20%, the magic that turns a solid mix into an absolute masterpiece, that still takes human taste and critical listening. No robot is doing that for you.
So, the real takeaway? AI is not some tyrant coming for your job. Look, we're in a tough economic landscape right now. Budgets are tight. What AI really offers is a way to survive those tight budgets by working way faster. By letting the AI handle the boring, repetitive setup, the masking analysis, all that heavy lifting, you actually buy back your most precious resource, time. Time to literally just be creative.
All right, Section 3, the AI production toolkit. Let's look at the specific 2026 AI plugins you can actually fire up in your sessions today.
Looking at the current ecosystem, we've got conversational workflow assistants like Leah. It's a web app that bridges directly to your DAW, so you just type in natural language to control parameters across the whole session. Wild, right? Then you have analytical problem solvers like Neutron 5, which literally listens to your audio spectral content to suggest corrective EQ and compression. And for the sound design nerds, we have awesome tools like Synplant 2.
Now imagine combining these for a powerhouse workflow. You could use Leah for rapid creative setup, say telling it to set up a drum bus with some of that 2000s indie distortion we talked about, and boom, it applies genre-appropriate settings instantly. Then, once your vibe is locked, you bring in Neutron 5 for the precision spectral polishing, making sure nothing is clashing. They address completely different aspects of mixing, and honestly, they complement each other perfectly.
I also got to highlight how AI is changing the actual inception of sound. If you're into sound design, Synplant 2 is a total game changer. Instead of twisting standard oscillator knobs, you plant an audio seed, and the AI uses genetic algorithms and neural networks to literally grow organic variations. It generates sounds that are genuinely impossible to program on a conventional synth. That means your productions won't just sound like everyone else's preset library.
Which brings us to Section 4,
Timeless Tricks from Abbey Road. Because hey, even with an absolute arsenal of 2026 AI at your fingertips, you still need to know the fundamentals.
While an AI can spit out a corrective EQ curve, understanding exactly why that problem exists in the first place gives you the intentional control that algorithms just don't have. Grounding your mix in classic techniques, whether that's knowing the right tracking speed for auto-tune or dialing in vintage EQ tricks, remains absolutely essential for clarity.
So let's tackle a massive problem in modern mixing: mid-range mud. Because reverbs emulate physical spaces, bouncing sound off virtual walls, those reflections quickly build up into this cloudy, low-mid rumble, usually right around 300 to 600 hertz. Remember our first section? The 2026 trend is all about crystal clear vocals dominating the mid-range. If your reverb is clogging up that exact same frequency space, it's going to completely ruin the clarity of your track.
Let's break down the legendary Abbey Road reverb trick. Made famous on records by the Beatles and Radiohead, it takes just 3 simple steps using literally any EQ in your DAW. Step 1, put your reverb on an aux return track, not directly on the vocal. Step 2, slap an EQ before the reverb and apply a high-pass filter at 600 Hz. And Step 3, apply a low-pass filter at 6 kHz.
Here's why this works so incredibly well. By shaping the signal before it hits the reverb generator, you stop those unwanted frequencies from ever entering the artificial space to begin with. The high pass removes all that boomy reflection mud, and the low pass clears out the harsh, needless high-end chatter. What does that leave you with? Plenty of room for your cymbals and vocal air. You're carving out this pristine little pocket for those modern 2026-style mid-range vocals to just soar. They sit perfectly in the space without ever drowning in mud. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought. We've seen how 2026 is all about pushing extreme loudness, embracing that gritty 2000s nostalgia, and using incredibly smart AI to speed up our workflow. But listen, the AI is just the canvas. As you fire up your DAW and combine these futuristic plugins with timeless tricks like the Abbey Road EQ, remember this: algorithms seek perfection, but humans, we connect with emotion. In a world of AI perfection, will your human imperfections actually become your greatest asset? Your unique taste, your specific ear, that's what makes your music unforgettable. Keep creating, keep experimenting, and I'll see you in the next explainer.